In the name of Allah, the most merciful and the entirely merciful, all praise is due to Allah the Almighty, the Lord of the world. May Allah's peace, mercy, and blessings be upon His final and last messenger, Muhammad. And may Allah's peace, mercy, and blessings be with each and every one of you, dear viewers, watching this new episode of our program, The Revelation, here on Nile TV International. In this episode, my dear viewers, we will be picking up where we left in the previous couple of episodes, highlighting the position of Islam when it comes to peaceful coexistence. And without any further ado, I will be moving to the eighth principle here, and that's how is it Islam ensures and guarantees the right of the freedom of belief to each and every human being without any form of discrimination. As we read in Surah Al-Baqarah, and that's particularly in verse number 256.
لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم.
In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, there shall be no compulsion in the religion. The right course has become distinct from the wrong. So whoever disbelieves in Taghut and believes in Allah has grasped the most trustworthy handhold with no break in it, and Allah is hearing and knowing.
Here, my dear viewers, the verse is very clear that no human being shall be forced or coerced to accept a faith or to believe into a faith. Rather, the freedom of belief is guaranteed and universally ensured to each and every human being. And as a matter of fact, when we look into this verse from an intellectual perspective, we find it, as a matter of fact, to make perfect sense, because the point of accepting a faith or embracing it or believing in it and holding into it happens, as a matter of fact, to be an act of the heart, and no one can be in a position or have the power to coerce the heart of a human being to accept a belief that is not that it's not convinced of, or that it's not inclined towards, or doesn't make sense to them. So the point here, Islam in this verse in the Noble Quran is establishing this universal value and human right of freedom of belief, and also telling us that forcing a human being or an individual to accept a faith that they do not internally, from within their heart, believe in, as a matter of fact, will lead to bring about hypocrites, and definitely no one wants this.
لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم.
In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. There shall be no compulsion in the religion. The right course has become distinct from the wrong. So whoever disbelieves in Taghut and believes in Allah has grasped the most trustworthy handhold with no break in it, and Allah is hearing and knowing.
Another very important verse here in this regard, my dear viewers, is in Surah Al-Kahf, or the chapter of Al-Kahf, and particularly in verse number 29.
وَقُلِ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ إِنَّا أَعْتَدْنَا لِلظَّالِمِينَ نَارًا أَحَاطَ بِهِمْ سُرَادِقُهَا وَإِنْ يَسْتَغِيثُوا يُغَاثُوا بِمَاءٍ كَالْمُهْلِ يَشْوِي الْوُجُوهَ بِئْسَ الشَّرَابُ وَسَاءَتْ مُرْتَفَقًا.
In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. And say, the truth is from your Lord. So whoever wills, let him believe, and whoever wills, let him disbelieve. Indeed, we have prepared for the wrongdoers a fire whose walls will surround them. And if they call for relief, they will be relieved with water like murky oil, which scalds faces. Wretched is the drink, and evil is the resting place.
Here, my dear viewers, we clearly see how is it this freedom of belief is guaranteed to each and every human being. So whoever wills to believe, let them believe, and whoever decides or wants to disbelieve, then it's totally up to them. So this is with regards to our human realm. Yet the idea of judgment or the idea of holding people accountable, this is not up to us, because some people think that they are in a position to point fingers towards others, or to issue judgments about others. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is clearly telling us it is only Allah who is the judge. And even if there are those with knowledge, then the maximum that they can do is to remind, to convey, and even when they do this, they have to do this and practice this in light of the noble teachings of the Quran, of being gentle, of being kind, as I said, to follow the example of the Prophet ﷺ, but not to force others or to judge others or to offend others in a way that would make any human being be offended or totally turn away from the beliefs of such people. So this is why a Muslim is totally prohibited from judging others or turning fingers around towards others, or doing anything like this that would offend people.
وقل الحق من ربكم فمن شاء فليؤمن ومن شاء فليكفر إنا أعتدنا للظالمين نارا أحاط بهم سرادقها وإن يستغيثوا يغاثوا بماء كالمهل يشوي الوجوه بئس الشراب وساءت مرتفقا.
In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. And say, the truth is from your Lord. So whoever wills, let him believe, and whoever wills, let him disbelieve. Indeed, we have prepared for the wrongdoers a fire whose walls will surround them. And if they call for relief, they will be relieved with water like murky oil, which scalds faces. Wretched is the drink, and evil is the resting place.
Additionally, my dear viewers, we read in Surah Yunus, and in particular in verse number 99,
ولو شاء ربك لآمن من في الأرض كلهم جميعا أفأنت تكره الناس حتى يكونوا مؤمنين.
In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, and had your Lord willed, those on earth would have believed, all of them entirely, then would you compel the people in order that they become believers?
this verse, my dear viewers, is a very significant one, as it is teaching us through addressing the person of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ by telling him in a way that's metaphorical. So is it you who is going to force or coerce the people so that they would become believers? I.e., it is not for any human being to force another or to coerce another to believe or to accept a belief that they are not willing to accept.
ولو شاء ربك لآمن من في الأرض كلهم جميعا أفأنت تكره الناس حتى يكونوا مؤمنين.
In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, and had your Lord willed, those on earth would have believed, all of them entirely, then would you compel the people in order that they become believers?
With this, my dear viewers, we come to the end of this episode. As always, your comments, feedback, and suggestions are most welcome via the official Facebook page of the program and the rest of the social media. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.